what's up, everyone? Hope everyone is having a great start of the week. I'm sitting here sun gazing and meditating, and as I was sitting here and enjoying the beauty of the sun setting, I also thought about a dream that I had. It was many years ago, but it was more like a dream of me being in church, and I can remember my grandmother sitting in the front in the pulpit, and for some odd reason, I was called up to speak and do the sermon. And so when my grandmother was like, that's my grandbaby, you go on and speak, you're my grandbaby. That is when I kind of became so enraged as I looked around the church. And it was a pretty big church, very packed, all the seats filled. And I raised my hand up, and it was almost like I had my grandmother's life flash before her eyes. And then right after that happened, she was quiet, and she was like still shocked that I was able to look into her past and all of the things she experienced. And I couldn't really see it real vividly, but it was real that I was able to make that happen. And then right after that, I started looking at the people in the church, and I was shaking my head and just like I was disappointed in the people. And even though they were there excited to hear me speak a word, I just couldn't understand why I was so angry with the audience. And so right after, um, I looked around, and right before I began to speak, I felt the lashes of Jesus. I felt the lashes so, it felt so real to where I was just falling on my knees, breaking down, but no one was hitting me. But it was just, I felt the lashes. And then it went from me feeling the lashes to me just being so like in pain to where I left out of the church. I just walked out. I didn't conclude anything. And when I walked out, it was nighttime. And so when I looked up in the sky, I was like breathing so heavy and so hard to where I was able to see clouds moving back and forth as I was inhaling and exhaling. And I was just trying to understand, why was I so angry? How did I develop that much power and was able to do the things that I was able to do without having any prior experience? I didn't watch. Now I know some people might say, "Oh, I probably watched a movie, or I probably was thinking." At that point in time in my life when I had that dream, I was actually very active in church. I felt like I developed a closer relationship, spiritual relationship with Jesus than any time of my life. So for me to have that dream, I'm still trying to piece it together and make sense of it. But the only thing that I can kind of formulate and come up with is that just like we believe there's power in our Almighty God, there's power in the universe, power in Jesus, power in these different deities, entities. I have no choice but to really feel like there's power within us. I mean, there's even scientific evidence saying that our junk DNA holds some type of special power. And if it ever gets unlocked, I know it's going to be, a lot of people going to be in for a rude awakening. But yeah, I just wanted to understand that. But yeah, it just kind of laid heavy on me as I was, looking up into the sky at the sun. But I think I really wanted to touch on judgment. A lot of people feel like they have, this special type of relationship with God or whoever they believe in to the point where they can come along and judge people. Now, this is how I see judgment because, I'm guilty of it. I have been in a situation where I judge somebody by their action. And I feel like the only reason I judge someone by their action is because it affects me. Like, if somebody is telling me that no man ain't gonna want me because I have a whole lot of children, which they're all adults now, or you ain't gonna have it easy. It's gonna be hard for you to be a single mother trying to raise children. It's hard for women out here, but I'm intelligent enough to know how to work and pay some bills. But it seemed like when somebody's coming at me and telling me it's hard, but they're doing different things to interrupt my flow of life. If they're not being supportive, or if they're just bad talking me or being negative, to me, that's going to cause me to judge them. It's like I think there's a time and place for judgment, and that's just kind of how I see it. I don't feel like it's right, and this is just my opinion, for someone, especially in the pulpit, in the church, any pastors, preachers, Christian leaders, Christian workers, Christian members. I don't think they have no room to judge, because at the end of the day, we all hold some good traits and some negative traits. We have strengths, we have weaknesses. It may be a benefit for that particular person, but it might be judged by somebody else depending on the circumstance. But I don't think anyone should be judged to the point where they got to be put to death. I just, I understand people commit crimes, they do the time, but a lot of people be put in a position where they can't help it. And I know there's no excuse to take a life, but it's a lot of situations that happen that's kind of out of people's control. And I guess that's why they try to give you, sentence you on different levels. But, if somebody is trying to abort their baby at a young age, a teen mother, that's pretty much getting rid of a life. And people don't understand what that person could have went through to want to not continue on with pregnancy. I'm pro-life, but I understand there are certain circumstances where, people just, they're not prepared. They're just not mentally, emotionally prepared. And they know themselves better than anybody else. It's not for me to judge, someone just because they decide to do whatever they want to do with their bodies. Like I said, everybody have their own divine purpose. There was also a situation where I was getting ready to walk to school one morning. And this guy, he was a good friend of my mom, my auntie, my uncle. He was walking up the street, and I seen him like far off, but it was almost like he didn't look right. He didn't look like the same person. I mean, I just couldn't understand. I mean, he's normally driving in a nice, convertible type of car, and always excited and always trying to give me and my siblings $1 and to go up to the ice cream truck and stuff like that. But this one particular morning, as he got closer, walking towards my direction, I said, okay, he must be going to my auntie. I mean, he must be going to visit my house, but I'm trying to understand, why is he looking the way he's looking, like nervous and sweaty. And then when I got closer to his shirt, he was drenched in blood. He was covered in blood. And I got a closer look, and it wasn't his blood, because he wasn't holding himself like he was hurt. And I was like, what happened? And he was like, man, I fucked up. I didn't mean to kill him. I didn't mean to kill him, man. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I got to go away. I'm so sorry. That's what he kept telling me. And so I continued to walk on to school. Like, I was like, oh, that's messed up. But, I know my ancestors are some type of spiritual guys. Something is with me, because he could have took me out. He could have made sure that I wasn't a witness. He could have made sure that I was put down, because I'm like, I know where he at. I could have went and called the police, but he was just too shook up to where he couldn't even believe that he took somebody's life. But whether he was in his right mind or not, whether he was high off cocaine or drugs, I have no idea. But that's one of the reasons why I know that I'm just not fit for that kind of lifestyle, because when you grow up around it, I've seen it being cooked. I've been offered some to try. I've seen it being sold. I've seen what happens when you don't do right with the drugs. Like my mom, she had a friend that used to hang out, with everybody. And I don't know if he went out there running his mouth. I don't know if he went out there trying to run game on some big time drug dealers. But all I know is he ran in the house crying, ran to our house crying, covering his mouth. And my mom was trying to move his hand, trying to figure out, well, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? And come to find out, somebody jumped on him, like beat his behind so bad to where they punched his lip up in his teeth. So his teeth was hanging out of this part of his mouth. And he was in so much pain. I never seen a man scream and cry in my life until I seen that. But it's like, a lot of people be quick to judge me and tell me what I can do, what I can do, what I can't handle. And they don't understand that my struggle started as far back as I can remember. I know what struggle is like. I know what it's like coming home, opening your refrigerator, and finding out that your mama $200 to $300 worth of groceries is gone in one day. And you got to figure out what you're going to eat later on that night, or possibly have to go to a neighbor house and ask them for a plate of food. I know the struggle. I know what it's like thinking that, okay, you're going to come home to some lights being on, and you find out that the lights off, and they ain't going to be back on until, you got to wait a couple of days, until somebody come up with the money. I've seen the struggle. I know what the struggle feels like. I know what it feels like watching so many people in your family try to fight addictions, but they are so broken mentally and emotionally to where they don't know how to come up out of it. They don't have no solution. And that's why I said, this is why I know that something happened to me. And I don't know, maybe it was my ayahuasca visit. I don't know. But something happened to where I was able to see beyond this realm and know that there is something that out there that exists. And it don't got nothing to do with somebody with blonde hair, blue eyes, with the little thorns around their head. It don't have nothing to do with that. There is something out there that exists. But I just know that I was saved from a lot of bullshit. And I know I have my sad stories. I know I've been through some stuff, but I know it could have been so worse. Being, facing guns, looking down the barrel of guns and trying to just stay sane when you seeing everybody in your family with some type of emotional issue, and then their friends got emotional issues, and their friends got emotional issues. And when I say emotional issues, because back in the 80s, the government really did a number on a lot of black communities with crack cocaine. And then when you take the basic necessities away from a black community, then they're being pushed against the wall. They're being pushed to go out there and get it by any means necessary. And then if they can't get it, then it breaks them down. And then they feel like, okay, well, I need something to relieve this stress. So let me go on to some, what was the style back then? Moke, liquor, the 40, and then you got, the crack and the heroin. All of that was like the go-to. And I am so blessed to not have to rely on that kind of stuff, because I was pushed against the wall. I was pushed against the wall, literally and physically. I was tried by people I love and people I ain't even know. So it's like, when people come at you and trying to judge you, this is advice for my inner self too. Just realize that, don't take it personal, for one. Realize that you have your own purpose here. Realize that you're not going to do everything perfectly. If God created you to come to earth, to learn, to experience life on your own, if he give you all of the information of what's going to happen beforehand and try to prevent you from making mistakes, then it's like, that's no lesson. That's like having a cheat code, and you just know what to do and what not to do already. See, it's like baby steps. And that's what I'm learning, that everything that we experience is like baby steps. So when I open my mouth, when I run my mouth, that's what my mama like to say, it is because I am trying to speak life into people, because so many of us, including myself, have been faced with death. If it's not physically, it's emotional. When you're walking around numb because you don't know how to love, because you don't know how to have peace, because you got to have drama, because you got to have a hate, you got to have things in your control, and that's impossible. We can control what we want to eat that day, sometimes, depending on your money. Where we want to work at, depending on your experience. We can control some things, whether we want to get up or not to go to work, if you're blessed enough to get up. But what I'm saying, and what I really want you to get from this whole message is, when I say love yourself, it's deeper than waking up and looking in the mirror and saying affirmations. You really got to rearrange your brain from all of the effed up shit that's been passed around from generation to generation to generation. Things that your family, your ancestors made you feel like this is the normal way of doing things. And when I say ancestors, I'm talking about the ones that's living in the flesh. I'm talking about from your great-grandma, your great-granddad. I'm talking about the one. I'm going to say, we're going to talk about the ancestors that became colonized. I'm not going to talk about the ones that was really tapped into nature. I'm talking about the ones that became colonized and mixed all up with all the different cultures through just the things that colonizers did. I'll just put it that way, just to keep it PG clean as much as I can. So you have to rewire your brain. Now, if there's things that they pass down that's beneficial, that's helping you create generational wealth, that's helping you stay focused and mentally strong, physically healthy and strong, I'm not saying get rid of that. I'm just talking about the BS behind things that, like soul food. I ain't trying to knock soul food. I'm a big fan of soul food. But there comes a point in your life when you realize fatback, porky type foods ain't going to help you stay nice and fit. If you got the type of body that can handle that and not have to worry about parasites and not have to worry about high blood pressure, if your body can handle a whole lot of sugar and greasy lard and all that kind of stuff, then you just one of the lucky ones. But I just know I done seen a lot of different addictions, a lot of different things pass through my family line, bloodline, and it just left some very unhealthy outcomes. And I already told you, what you put in your stomach is how your brain responds to that. Whether you end up being bitchy and you don't understand, why am I so bitchy? Maybe because you had too much sugar and sweets and your body craving it. Told you sugar's an addiction. And ask me how I know. Because I'm still weak to some chocolate chip cookies. I don't eat like heavy sweets, but that's like one of them. Like I gotta have me every blue moon. I gotta have me that. And boy, it be doing something to me. But other than that, I'm gonna conclude this video because I don't want it to be too long. But yeah, I just had to come on and you guys are like my YouTube friends. Whether you agree with my words or not, you still watch it. So I enjoy entertaining. I enjoy bringing information. This is all right. This is almost better than me having to teach a whole lot of elementary students, and I don't got to worry about nobody getting up doing something crazy. Oh boy, like repeating everything they hear on tell your brain rot. That is so annoying. I don't know who came up with that. But just know you are loved, and until next time, take it easy. Stay positive as much as you can. Know how to balance that yin and yang energy. Peace out.